My name is Bill Bickmeyer. I am here today to talk about my father, Gary Bickmeyer, who passed away April 14th of this year. I'm going to start out by reading the end of a poem by Robert Frost called Two Tramps in Mud Time. But yield, who will, to their separation. My object in living is to unite my avocation and my vocation, as my two eyes make one in sight. Only where love and the need are one, and the work is play for mortal stakes, is the deed ever really done for heaven and the future's sake. My father really blossomed when he was in the garden or when he was working with his hands. He seemed to come alive in the garden and other aspects of his life. My dad had some characteristics that were pretty prevalent throughout his life. Consistency, reliability, determination, patience. And when nothing else seemed to be working, or every morning at 5 to 6 a.m., prayer. In the garden, my dad would tend the soil every spring and prepare the ground, then sow the ground, weed, tend, fertilize, and wait for harvest. He would watch the corn grow taller, recording its progress over the year. He would take walks with his dog, Ella, or my mom, around the garden in the morning when it was nice and cool, just looking at the flowers and the garden as it grew. Yep, that was my dad. But he didn't just do that with gardening. He was an educator. He tended and cared for the people in his life, just like his garden, giving them love, attention. He would pray for them during that morning time, day after day, writing down in his book who he had prayed for, what he had prayed about, and then making sure that he followed up with phone calls, just letting people know that he loved them. Growing up, as my dad had something that he couldn't figure out or was having a hard time with something, he would always go to God for reassurance and for direction. 1 Samuel 2, chapter 2, verse 2, there is no one holy like the Lord. There is no one besides you. There is no rock like our God. This is what my father would say when he didn't know what to do, or when he was stressed, when things just weren't going right. There is no one like my God. He has a plan. This will get worked out by him. I don't have it figured out right now, and I don't know what I'm going to do next. But I trust that God has it in hand, and he is my rock. I think this helped my dad be so consistent and reliable. How he was able to show up to baseball games, to cross-country meets, to all of these different events, and be able to be cheerful and encouraging. No matter how his day went, he was there. And I think that had a lot to do with his belief in God and the time that he spent with God each morning. Another example of my father's character was taking down an entire house. About 3 or 4 years ago, my parents moved into a new home, and right next to their house was a derelict house that also was on their property. My dad could have hired a construction team to come down and take it down. He could have rented a bulldozer and bulldozed it down, or used an excavator or other types of heavy equipment and just loaded it up into a dumpster and been done with it. But that was not my father. He said, I have the time, I'm retired now, I have the ability, I'm going to take this down piece by piece. I'm going to save as much of the lumber as I can. I'm going to remove every nail. And he did. Over a 3-year period, he took that house down piece by piece, using hammer, a ladder, a winch, basic tools. He took the house down piece by piece, and he was able to do it. He completed that task maybe 6 months ago. Let's look at another passage. Genesis 49, verse 24. But his bow remained steady, his strong arms stayed limber, because of the hand of the mighty one of Jacob, because of the shepherd, the rock of Israel. God is our rock. Father was consistent, reliable, and determined because of his continuing faith. I'm so thankful I got to know him, but I will miss him greatly. Thank you for listening. Thank you for this opportunity. I will be attending Des Moines Community College this August for mortuary science. Thank you again.